All are welcome. Let's try this again. So, last night Joe Biden attended pre-recorded. Joe Biden did a CNN town hall with Anderson Cooper. He was asked a few questions, and we're going to take a look at this video, which is titled "See the Moment Joe Biden Got Upset at CNN Town Hall," which I think is the most bizarre name for this particular video. But after watching the film, realizing the answer, and then thinking, I now know why Joe Biden really got upset, so let's talk about it. Let's take it to the video. Joe, you're up.
I want you to meet Kristen Szymanski. She works for a family-owned chocolate manufacturing company in Dunmore. She's a Democrat. Kristen, welcome.
Good evening. My mother was diagnosed with multiple myeloma 2 years ago at the age of 66. The cost of her care has been astronomical. However, my family has been fortunate that both she and my father had long careers at good companies that afforded them the opportunity to save for retirement, which is helping to pay for her care. Mr. Vice President, what is your plan to make health care affordable so Americans don't need to drain their savings when care is necessary?
First of all, in the middle of this pandemic, what's the president doing? He's in federal court, trying to do away with the Affordable Care Act. 100 million people with pre-existing conditions like your mom would not have to pay more for their insurance under now. But guess what happens if in fact, he wins? That's number one. Number two, what I would do is make sure that we reinstate the Affordable Care Act, number one, and add a public option to that Affordable Care Act so that nobody in the United States of America would go without being able to be covered for what they need. With regard to COVID, for example, I don't want to get too my son died of cancer. He came home from Iraq, and I have to tell you, it really, really offended me when he volunteered to go there for a year, and he came home because of with stage 4 glioblastoma. And the president referred to guys like my son. He won the Bronze Star, the Conspicuous Service Medal, referred to them as losers. Losers. Talk about losers. My point is this. The idea that health care is debated as whether or not it's a right or a privilege. It's an absolute right. And so we have to make sure, particularly in the moment of COVID, that any costs relating to COVID are in fact free. The federal government guarantees be taken care of. One of the reasons why people aren't going in and getting tested is they're afraid of the bill they're going to receive. They're afraid of what's going to happen. And with your mom, it's a different, multiple myeloma is a difficult disease to care for. And that's why one of the things I've done, well, anyway, I'm going on too much about cancer. I apologize. But one of the things that I strongly believe is we have to be in a position where we provide for all the research and all the effort to deal with cancer. And look, we can beat this disease, but we have to invest significant amounts of money, billions of dollars to do it. And it can be done. It can be done.
We're going to.
The coronavirus pandemic is issue number one.
Okay. Wow. So what happened there exactly? Well, Joe Biden clearly, they titled this video, Joe Biden Gets Upset. I'm not sure. I think they were kind of alluding to him talking about you start talking about his son and cancer. And this is a failure on the part of his campaign, okay? Because I wasn't sure that this thing was going to be teed up for him the way I was 100% sure that the Trump event was not. But the fact that he could remember that mother, the questionnaire, the person who asked the question, he was able to remember the ailment that her mother had, which is insane because Joe Biden can't remember 10 minutes ago. And it's proven here because, as you can see, he can't remember his own policy page. Now, he wasn't way off. But I think what happened is that whoever set this thing up for him, whoever prepared him for this debate when they gave him all the questions prior to, they were trying to juxtapose his position versus President Trump's position. But in doing so, they made him bring up President Trump a little bit too much. So he couldn't remember which Trump attack point he was on, because at that certain point he started talking about they start off talking about Trump is trying to repeal Obamacare, right? And if you go to his policy page, which we're going to do, you'll see that's literally the first thing up there. So it goes from repealing Obamacare, because it's great for a policy page, not great when you're trying to remember bullet points on a live stage. Fortunately, it wasn't live for him. But it goes from that. Then he starts talking about he doesn't want to get personal. Whenever he says, I don't want to get personal, or wait a minute, or let me not say that, it's over. That means he's lost his cadence. He's lost wherever he was on his little card. He's out of there. So now he's winging it. And because he brought up Trump previously, now he's lost. Now he starts talking about, my son was in the military and our president called them suckers and losers. He's off on another point. And again, this was a perfectly teed up question. He really could have crushed this one, especially, again, because if you check his, did the lady just walk up? No, she didn't walk off. She was asked to sit down. But if he could have remembered his answer, he would have had a pretty good shot of giving a pretty good answer for this one. Like I said, we're going to go over his policy page because there's good stuff there. So if you're interested in voting for Joe Biden and you were totally confused by his answer, as you should be, I'm going to tell you why he actually has a decent position. But given that he can't remember it, it does make it seem a little bit disingenuous, because I'd be concerned. I mean, how are you going to fight for something you can't remember what you're standing for? But first of all, what is that setup? Why is he in the parking lot? The first I saw the cars in the back, and I'm like, is that intentional? Oh, no, it's definitely intentional, because they put the stage there. And I guess these people were inside their cars, and they would come out and answer questions, and they had lawn chairs out. This whole thing is just goofy. Like, we understand you're better than Donald Trump because you have people socially distanced. We get it. Don't do that. Why don't you just have people call in with remote questions or something? It just looked dumb. All right? I'm sorry. It looked dumb. How can he debate? That is the point. This was the moment when I realized he has no chance against Donald Trump in a live debate. It's going to be a bloodbath. So expect Democrats to start going crazy to get everybody to vote early, especially after this, because this was pre-recorded. This is the scariest part of all this. This was pre-recorded. I've only seen maybe three, maybe four segments from this thing. I think there's an additional segment on the CNN website. But they haven't put out the live video. On Trump's thing, you could go to ABC on Hulu and watch the whole video. So if you missed Biden's event last night, it might never be made public, because he was stumbling all through these little 4-minute portions. So I can just imagine what the entire video was. Not to mention, this was a horrible answer, and they actually put this up. So who knows what else is in that footage? Our vote. So, like I said, when you go to his policy page, it starts off talking about Obamacare, talks about how Trump wants to repeal it. All right, Biden, he's hitting that. He's talking about he's going to be continuing the Affordable Care Act, and he also wants to go ahead and expand it by creating a public option. He didn't use the phrase Medicare for all, of course. He's campaigning to win, right? He's not Bernie out here. He can't be saying that. So makes perfect sense. And again, he's got good stuff regarding that particular position. He talks about here on the policy page that since Trump came to office in 2016, there's been a 40% drop in enrollment on healthcare. So, like I said, the number of uninsured Americans rose by 1.4 million. So this is why he's taking the position of he wants to expand it, give additional options. Again, he's not going to remember these numbers, but these are the points that he might want to touch on in the future. Biden campaign, get at me, okay? I'm still available. Prices are going up, though, but I'm going to give you this one. So again, better option with the Joe Biden public option. Who knows what that's going to be called? Probably have a nice, colorful name. It will give them the ability to negotiate prices, as the average American can't do that themselves. He says today's American families, between 100 and 400% of the federal poverty level may receive a tax credit to reduce how much they have to pay for health care on the individual marketplace. And the Biden plan will help middle-class families by eliminating the 400% income gap on the tax credit eligibility, and lowering the limit on the cost of coverage from 9.86 of income to 8.5%. So meaning you won't pay more than 8.5% of your income. And the question was specifically, how are you going to make sure middle-class Americans don't go broke paying for health care? This is the answer. This is the answer. what you did was you skipped over the actual answer and then you went down to the last page where you get to, celebrate. You can't take your victory lap just yet, bro. So he's got that. He also talks about how because of state politics, governors and state legislators in 14 states have refused to take up the Affordable Care Act's expansion of Medicaid eligibility, which is denying access to 4.9 million adults. So he's going to offer premium-free access to the public option for those 4.9 million individuals who would be eligible for Medicaid, but for their state's inaction and making sure their public option covers the full scope of Medicaid benefits. So there you go. This is good sounding stuff, at least. Expanding what's available, making sure that the cost, even though Trump is going to crush him over how expensive Obamacare was, but by mentioning this, you won't have to pay more than 8.5% of your income. That is how you keep from making this thing completely unaffordable. Additionally, Biden is going to ensure below 138% of the federal people making below 138% of the federal poverty level get covered. He'll do this by automatically enrolling these individuals when they interact with certain institutions such as public schools or other programs for low-income populations such as SNAP. Again, getting rid of, not necessarily getting rid of bureaucracy, but at least making things that are already available easier to find. He's going to, connect these resources, make them more available to Americans who don't even know that they actually qualify. So, good stuff. This is actually solid stuff. This is definitely an improvement over our current system. This is definitely not Medicare for all, but it is the option that he offered from the very beginning. Again, he's going to say, hey, this is Joe Biden. He's controlled by the left. They're making him go for Medicare for all. This is not Medicare for all, or definitely not the Medicare for all that Bernie Sanders proposed, which, is very, very all-encompassing, but definitely a step in the right direction. And this actually does could lower the cost of health insurance for millions of Americans. He's also got this thing about prescription drugs. He wants to repeal outrageous exceptions, allowing drug corporations to avoid negotiating with Medicare over drug prices because Medicare covers so many Americans that has significant leverage. So we talked about that in the primary, having that leverage to actually negotiate prices, things that, other countries do. For some reason, we're not able to do. Hopefully, this is going to be able to, create a better system overall. But yeah, you skip down in here. These are all the pages that Joe Biden missed in his answer. And then here, it's ensure that health care is a right for all and not a privilege for just a few. And somehow, see, when you hear that without the full context of where it should have been in relation to the actual policy, it seems like, you didn't answer none of my questions. But the answer was there. He just missed it. This was, again, a softball opportunity for Joe Biden to really crush these questions, but his inability to actually get to his own policy page and actually remember the things that he's supposed to be standing for should be extremely concerning, not only for Joe Biden's camp, but for anyone who's thinking that Joe Biden is serious about pushing forward in order to make these policy changes actually happen. How sincere is he? I don't know. You really need to be questioning how sincere the people behind him are, because if he don't remember this stuff, there's no way there's no way he's gonna fight for it, right? So 85%. Are you sure? I'm reading it right here from his policy page. It's 8.5% of your income. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it back. What's this? I'm posting it to Facebook. Hold on. Let's see. I likes to go to the sources. You know what I mean? That's what we do around here. Okay. For example, take a family of four. This is right from the policy page, by the way. Take a family of four with an income of $110,000 per year. If they currently get insurance on the individual marketplace because their premium will now be capped at 8.5% of their income under the Biden plan, they will save an estimated $750 per month on insurance alone. That's cutting their premiums almost in half. If a family is covered by their employer, but they get a better deal with the 8.5% premium cap, they can switch to a plan on the individual marketplace too. Straight from Joe Biden. That's on his page. So again, how sincere is he? I can't speak to that. All I know is September 29th is going to be a dark day because that's going to be the first time he has to stand across the stage from Donald Trump and remember these answers. And I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do it. Again, if this was a live event, I would have given him a lot more latitude. But this was pre-recorded. This was, I'm pretty sure, teed up where he knew the questions. Or, I mean, it's not beyond the realm of possibility. We know that Hillary Clinton got the questions when she was in her debates against Bernie. So to think that, I'm not sure which network was, I guess it was CNN that was actually conducting this debate, to think that they wouldn't give the answers to Joe Biden, or at least say, okay, well, let's just pick questions that he should definitely be able to get. To think that they wouldn't do that, it's not crazy. So he should be able to nail these. But he's clearly out of practice. He hasn't been challenged, especially on policy. If you go back to the primary, those debates were rarely substantive. And he's been going against Donald Trump the entire time instead of actually pleading his case to the American people. So he's simply rusty. This is not a good scenario, but at least he's got the answers to back things up. I'm just not sure if he's going to be able to do it. But we'll see. That was the best they could do. So I got a couple more of these segments I'm going to break down. Joe Biden, again, he performed. He showed up. He was a body. But, man, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough on the 29th. So stay tuned. More segments coming quickly. I'm late.